Welcome to Paddock Pass, the Grand Prix of China edition, and welcome to the world's most ridiculously large paddock. 50 Shades of Grey, the sky, the tarmac, the pit building, and my jacket. I left my jacket at home, so I had to go and buy one. This is an XL. I'm an XL in China, apparently. I'd love to say it's a buzzing mill of people, but it really is such a large paddock you can barely find anybody here. But there is a lot of expectation, a lot of excitement coming into this weekend on the back of that great win for Ferrari last time out in Malaysia. One team that didn't have a great time, as they haven't done for both of the opening races of this season, was McLaren Honda. Jenson Button, though, arrives here in relatively positive frame of mind. They know this race is going to be difficult for them. It's going to expose their weaknesses. It's cold. That massive long back straight will really hurt that Honda engine. So much being made about that Honda power unit. But I asked Jenson earlier today, surely there are some positive aspects in the car if you can just take that power unit out of the equation.
The car doesn't feel too bad. I mean, we're still, it's still not as competitive as the guys at the front, but the feeling's pretty good. There's still a lot of work needed to fine-tune it to the way I want it, but it doesn't feel too bad. And also, I think the way the power unit is in terms of the drivability works well with the car. We obviously want more power, and we want to improve the way that we use in the recovery systems, but we're going in the right direction. But I think it's a little bit unfair to try and separate them because they both need work, and we're doing it together. So. How
much freedom is there left in the development of the power unit, and are you worried that you'll hit a point, the tokens will be used up, and you won't be able to progress anymore?
Well, we haven't used any, so we've just been developing what we have and trying to get the best out of what we have. So, we were massively down on power at the first race. Much better at the last race, but there's still room for improvement with the power unit we have. So we haven't used up the tokens, which is a good position to be in. I don't think we mind too much if we use more engines than we should. It's obviously a shame, and there's a reason for having only 4 engines or 5 engines, but we might have to go over that, and if that helps with our development, that's the way it's got to be.
Thanks, John. Surely more to come then from McLaren Honda, hoping the relationship will blossom into something successful, as are of course Force India. They've still basically got last year's car spec'd up for 2015, but it's essentially an old car. They were hoping the B-Spec 2015 car would be ready by the start of the European season. That's now not going to happen. Tough times for the Silverstone-based squad. Nico Hülkenberg putting a brave face on it. How difficult are things going to be until the new version of the car is released?
Pretty difficult, to be honest. I think there's no magic to it. Obviously, we're lacking performance, and we're a bit on the back foot in that regard. But everybody's pushing hard in the team. I think there's still room for improvement with this car, with little tweaks, other tweaks we can do. Not speaking about the complete new car and new floor, new rear wing, etc., etc. So we're trying hard. We're still learning. We have some bits to try here, which hopefully will bring some light into the dark and point us into a direction. But in the meantime, we'll just sit tight, work hard, and see what we can do.
Quotes out of Bob this week saying that you don't expect to have the car now until Austria. How much of a disappointment is that?
Well, we knew it already, for a longer time than you guys probably learned it. So that was always be the schedule, and like I say, we know it for some time now, and it's just pretty much coming back to my first answer.
How do you approach the races then? Is it literally about just holding on and getting what you can out of it?
Yes, which is not too dissimilar to when we were like in last year. It's a similar case. Obviously, we still come to a race weekend trying to score points. Don't get us wrong. And like you've seen in Australia, it was possible, although it was lucky. But looking back at Malaysia as well now, it seems that we're quite far back. But we found also some issues after the race. So without those, we would have been much closer to the points. And I think I don't have a problem getting myself motivated, neither does the team. And it's still the beginning of the season.
The government of China has released a diktat about large groups of people in public spaces, which means Turn 1 Grandstand isn't going to be used this weekend. There aren't enough exits there for the number of people that it holds. Quite a sensible decision, actually. So they're going to sort of position all the fans that have got Turn 1 grandstand seats? One would imagine maybe down at the grandstand on the long right-hander going onto the back straight, which has been unused for the last few years. So we'll wait and see what happens there. One driver hoping to put on a very good show for all those fans is a driver who had a great weekend in Malaysia up until the moment he threw the car off track and brought out the safety car. Ladies and gentlemen, Marcus Ericsson. How difficult was the way that the last race ended for you?
Yeah, the next couple of days after the race was a bit frustrating thinking about how it ended, because I had such a good weekend, being top 10 in every session, reaching Q3, and also the first lap, the first lap of the race was really good, up to P8 and attacking for P7. And then I did a mistake that I had to pay a extremely big price for, but that's how it is sometimes in racing. I gotta learn from it, and that's what I've done, and I put it behind me now, and I bring all the positives from the weekend and all the confidence I got from running so competitive, and the feeling I got from the car. So it's great to have the race so soon after, only 2 weeks after. We're here again on the racetrack, so I will be able to show what I can do again.
I mean, it was a good weekend pretty much for you up until that exit from the race. Sorry to bring it up. How good is the car? How strong is the engine? What can you achieve with this package?
I think it's very good. The car is very consistent to drive. You know what to expect in the corners, and it's a really nice car to drive. And then, as we've seen, not only from us but also from Ferrari, the power unit is very competitive. So I see no reason why we shouldn't aim for points here and the next weekend and the next after that. I think that's where we are at the moment. And then obviously we need to push to keep up with other guys during the season. But at the moment we should aim for points, no doubt about that.
Welcome back to Paddock Pass. It's not been an easy start to the season for Red Bull Racing. A very public war of words between Red Bull and their engine supplier Renault. Cars getting lapped, one car not making it to the first grid of the year in Australia. Daniel Ricciardo, leading the team, surely would have been hoping this season not just for race victories but to be fighting for the championship. It would seem he'll be doing neither of those for quite a while. But as always with Dan, there is optimism there. Expectations seem relatively low. How difficult is that to come to terms with?
I think it's okay. It's okay. I mean, expectations are always just a thought anyways. I think it's what happens on track is normally what matters. And, first two races have not gone as we all hoped, and that's reality. But I think we're on the up. I think Malaysia was, let's say, as bad as it's going to get for us. I'd like to think that, and I do believe it. So we got a few new things this weekend, and we obviously understood quite a bit what was going on in Malaysia. So pretty optimistic here. I mean, we had good race pace here last year, so really looking forward to this one actually.
Teams admitted it's not just the power unit, the chassis is also lacking. How much is there a fear that you start chasing your tail if you focus too much on one thing?
I think we need to clear up a few areas, and I think Malaysia probably showed us a bit more that it's we've got to improve the whole package, and we can't just point the finger at Renault, but it's it's good. Everyone was very honest about it all, and let's say for example the aero guys weren't like, no, our aero is perfect, it's something else. Everyone put their hand up that they thought needed to, and we're trying to sort of get it all back on the right track. So we've got a few aero developments here this weekend, which should help us out, and I think it's like always, but obviously with a team like us, I think it's just a few things here and there, just clean up some areas, and I think it could really change the way the car behaves. So it's just focus on those for now, and then I don't think it's going to require a night and day difference. I think it's just putting together a few of those elements.
The fact that Ferrari was able to beat Mercedes on pure pace, it wasn't a Mercedes issue, it wasn't them breaking down, they actually won it. How big a job have you guys got to do to catch not just Mercedes but Ferrari now?
I think it's sort of two sides to look at it. Obviously, one, it's frustrating, but at the same time, it gives a lot of us hope. Basically, if Ferrari have made that turnaround, in the winter, then maybe it's sort of telling us that okay, maybe it's just one or two little things here, and Mercedes aren't as far in front as everyone thinks. So the good thing is we know we're not optimizing everything now, so we know there's realistic lap time ahead of us, and I think we will see it soon. It's hard to put a thumb on it if it's going to come in the next two races or if it's going to have to wait till Europe, but it is there, so we just got to find it. And yeah, so it's in a way encouraging seeing someone else beat Mercedes on equal terms. I think it gives everyone a good little push up the bum and should put us all in the right direction.
Do not drive a car down this path. I'm not sure how they'd expect to get a car through the gate, but anyway. Daniel Ricciardo, always smiling, even though he's not expecting a great result this weekend. One guy who I guess does have reason to smile, reigning world champion and championship leader Lewis Hamilton. A lot of people look at the Malaysian Grand Prix as a victory that Mercedes threw away through choosing the wrong strategy, not putting the right tyres on the car at the right time. The reality goes a lot deeper than that. Mercedes struggled with the mediums all weekend. Lewis Hamilton missed so much practice time, he never got a proper long run on those medium tyres. They were only getting 10 laps out of them. The intention was never to run the medium tyre in that race after the first stint. It was always to go hard. Mercedes know that they were beaten fair and square on pace by Ferrari in Malaysia. So with Lewis Hamilton here this weekend, the World Championship leader really needs to get back to winning ways and also to understand how they were beaten in Malaysia. Lewis, looking back to Malaysia, when you've looked over all the data with the team, is that a race you could have won, or was Ferrari always going to win it?
I think maybe if we changed the setup a little bit, made our tyres last a little bit longer, maybe if we'd stayed out with those changes, maybe would have been able to have at least covered the first stop and at least been in the fight. We would have been much closer. It wouldn't have been a 10-second gap between us. But otherwise, I can't tell you whether we would have won or not.
What's the greatest concern for the team? Is it the fact that Sebastian was able to win, or is it the pace that Kimi showed in fighting through from the back to finish where he did?
As far as I'm aware, I don't think we have any concerns. We're just focusing on doing a better job. It was an untidy weekend collectively as a group. All of us, we could have done a better job. Even myself and maybe Nico. I don't know. And so it's really just trying to understand how we could do it better and try to implement it here. And don't forget we've had some amazing races for a long time. So one little hiccup the weekend and still get 2 podiums is pretty awesome.
You've had to fight through the field in Malaysia. How difficult was it, and was that a surprise that you weren't able to just blast past people as one might have expected?
I think the only reason was that we had the wrong setup. Particularly for myself, I didn't get the running that I needed, so balance-wise the car was a long way out, and then with the tyres we didn't have the right settings in order to try and make the tyres last. Something we missed, and so naturally when we got behind people, they were already overheating, kind of tyres were already melting, and then when we got behind people, they were melting, so they perhaps got a little bit worse, but there was no margin as perhaps they were for the others.
Red's a lucky colour in China. It was very lucky for Sebastian 2 weeks ago in Malaysia, of course, taking that victory for the Scuderia on just his second race with the team. An amazing result, but an important result as well when you look at the competitive order in Formula One. Mercedes essentially only lost races last year due to reliability, them throwing it away. What happened in Malaysia we haven't seen yet, and that was that Ferrari won that race on pace, not because of Mercedes' reliability. How important is that for Sebastian Vettel looking towards what the team could possibly achieve for the rest of this season? How important was it to beat Mercedes in a fair fight? In other words, that it wasn't a Mercedes failure that led to that victory?
Very important. I think last year, I think the 3 races Red Bull won or Daniel won. Mercedes always had a bit of a problem. Of course, it was strong to capitalize on that. But it was different in Malaysia when we beat them in a straight fight. So made us very happy, very proud, but also wanting more.
Tyres obviously played a key strategy in Malaysia. James Allison's always designed cars that are relatively easy on their tyres. How crucial is that going to be for you guys this season in building on that victory?
Well, if it's a continuous trend, then we take it. It doesn't hurt to take care of your tyres. Certainly didn't in Malaysia. So this weekend, though, it's going step by step. Obviously, always looking at the bigger picture, but this weekend is a completely different circuit characteristic. Usually, you run out of fronts here, so we will see. It will be I think, an interesting and busy weekend. And as I said, we try to stay on top of our game first of all, and then we'll see where we are in comparison to the others.
So that's it for Paddock Pass this week here in China. Here are the times on your screen now where you can find everything this weekend on NBCSN. Can that man, Sebastian Vettel, make it 2 in a row? Will Mercedes get back to the front? And how about those Red Bull guys? Can they be a little bit more competitive? It's going to be a great weekend. Really looking forward to it. Looking forward to having you along.